Acropolis is over. But Cosmonarchy can't ever stop. We've got to keep on going. And so here we are recording more Cosmonarchy, having a wonderful time. And it's a free-for-all, so you know it's going to be a really interesting time. Just so everybody knows, I'll get it right out of the way at the beginning of this whole ordeal. We do have a 2 versus 2 tournament being organized by George on our Discord and Fluxer servers. If you join, or you're already there, and you ping him, he'll tell you all the information you need to know. So keep that in mind because we have 2 versus 2 action. I'm signed up. You could end up being my partner, unless you have a preferred partner, in which case, no hard feelings. I'll just hope that you subscribe to me on YouTube at least. And that is what they call a professional. So Pernigo is here, bringing you some more Cosmonarchy, and I am going to be planning a free-for-all tournament following the conclusion of that 2 versus 2 tournament, but I think we'll let August kind of simmer first. You know, I'm going to open up another map crap, first and foremost, try to bring back some energy towards the UMS community, or maybe just custom campaign stuff. Feel free to post suggestions about what kind of maps you want to see, even as a player, and that will probably inspire some of our map makers, and myself as well, to really understand what everybody actually wants. So that could be pretty fun, right? I mean, just think about it. Just think about it. I'll introduce our players as well, but just wanted to mention all of those things at the beginning of the cast, because this is the first time I'm recording a cast after the conclusion of the Throne Room stage. I do batch record some of these, but you can always tell me information about what you like, what things you want to see in Cosmonarchy videos that upload every day. And, you know, I'm just looking forward to seeing how things go. But enough podcasting. We got some players to introduce. Slav, one of our newer Terrans, in the top left. I think sometimes he plays the other races too, but I've mostly seen his Terran in Replay Kraken, and I'm interested in how he's been doing. He could probably easily be a Class 3 player, just judging by his APM in a lot of these matches, but I'm not so sure about the actual build orders or anything. It's the first time I'm actually seeing him play, I think. So, pretty exciting. He's in the top left of Razor Storm, which is a free-for-all version of none other than Knife's Edge, ported by the Shambler, or updated, I should say, by the Shambler. It's Jujik's original port of Dominator. All 3 workers are over here just having a gaggle, and so that's really funny. But it's going to be Kenoli, our Pumpkin Zerg, in the 3 o'clock position here, going to hatch into Hydra. Well, I guess it was like Larvos Catch Hydra, so that's pretty neat. Pretty nifty. I wonder if... I'm not actually sure about this. This looks pretty standard to me right now. But I do wonder if Shambler might consider kind of like adding a structure that like wall assists or truncates the position for this like first area, so that, you know, maybe that would increase the survivability on low eco stuff, or I guess low military stuff, greedy stuff. Which in FFAs, it's nice to have that option. But I don't know, maybe that's not a necessary adjustment, just something that I thought about. Kenoli has 5 IZs in production, but he's making a Khazit, and Shambler's Drac is just kind of standing here menacingly. He's just standing there, menacingly, waiting for an opportunity to be ordered into the enemy base. Because Shambler is in the bottom left. He made this map, and now he's playing on it. Biddy does that sometimes, too. Shout out Biddy. And he is the black Protoss in the bottom left. I didn't even guess color for Slav. I'm going to say Alice Blue. There you go. So apparently I just needed time to cook on that. Here come the IZs and the 1 pair of Rills to add insult to injury. I think it is insulting for Protoss to even see Zerg, you know what I mean? Like, not just because of all the PvZ rivalries that we've seen as of late, but it's really interesting to see, like, oh man, I have to look at these guys. I hate the Zerg, you know what I mean? So that's pretty nifty that we already have this artisan focus here from the Shambler in the bottom left, going gateway into Grand Library after his double embassy. And he's got a forward post here. This is played on the 22nd of July, so this is way before we had the DeWalt show match. But this is looking pretty similar, right? All we need is an engram, and then this is, besides like the exact placement of it, it's looking very similar to how DeWalt handled stuff on Static Gray, the Port of Colorless Fate, against Krankendow earlier. It's just me that I can't build on Ridge. I don't know which Ridge he's talking about. I hope he's not talking about the inability to cap a Vespine Ridge. But that would suck if that's the case. Shambler, please fix. Double Matrix here as part of that post. He's got a Herald, 3 Vespine thingy. Yeah, he is talking about that, but which, in what base? Yeah, can't make C1. Nat main? Shambler asking for those specifics. Nat main both. Oh. That seems odd. It does feel like it's in the right spot, but that's okay. I'll let Shambler figure that out. It would be really funny if something was breaking it for all players, but just you. Spawn Imba, Shambler! Okay, he's got a bunch of idle scribes. Who needs those when you've got artisans, you know what I mean? His worker count's already past saturation on that natural. Oh, the Avaleth sniping away the Witness. You can't be looking at them. It looks like we will be getting up to Bactyl Tech here pretty soon, I imagine, with that Hydra count. So we'll just keep that Hydra Thin selected for a little bit here. Cestus is up. It's going to provide some extra armor to the Cyprian spam. It's a lot of bio coming out of Slav, finally starting to filter in some of those Harakans, and indeed the skiback does start. Call me a prophet. Hey, an engram! So Walt, is that you? 17 Cyprians and counting. More Harakans coming in as well. The Witness will arrive into the midpoint here. I don't know, something about it tells me that we're going to be in for a little bit of a podcast FFA. At least a start. Ah, jeez. Well, Kenoli's APM would never had a chance, but that's something that really sets apart. Like, you can tell when a pro player is playing because they look at their units before they take damage on a scout, and that's something that I don't see even like, you know, Aoud or you know, some of our real top dogs that are homegrown talents but aren't pro Starcraft remastered players, right? That's the kind of thing that I see from those guys separately, right? They are a little bit more laissez-faire with it. A fast tier 2 for Slav, despite all of the Cyprian expenditure, he's going for it. And he has built a ministry for base number 3. He's got 7 stockades. His Cestus is up inside the main base, so I'm not sure where he put... Oh, he moved his other one. He probably would have sniped that Witness otherwise, but that does mean Shambler doesn't really have a good read on exactly what the military count is, so there is that as well. Treasury for another base. The Izira core drop is good for the main of the Shambler. He's no longer mining with workers, with scribes at all. And of course his army is going to need to slowly move its way back into the main base. Drops are obviously a good tactic to take on this particular map, so it makes a lot of sense. And if you're kind of new to Cosmonarchy and you're just watching this, like, what are all these units, dude? Your language doesn't make sense to me, Magic Man. Just know that we have about 50 units per race. We're seeing all 3 of the vanilla races, but we even have a 4th race in the game that will not be featured in this particular cast. So the Escozi, the cybernetic lizard people. And as we speak, I'm working on the 5th race. Well, I guess right now I'm casting, but you know what I mean. Like, we are actively working on an additional race following that. And I think that's pretty swell as well. So we will go up to 6 before we cap out. At least that's my current belief. But talk to me in 2027 when I deploy the 6th race then. And then, you know, we're like, maybe I do want more races. Really just depends on what we have to see for ourselves by the end of it. In our most recent 1v1 tournament, Acropolis, which is what I was referencing at the beginning of this cast, we had a pro StarCraft 1 player, Siki, end up getting pretty far in, all the way to the grand final, but I won't spoil the actual final results. And I just want to say that it was a pretty awesome tournament, pretty awesome end to the day. You know, the final day, the show match, and the grand final, both 7-game series, I should say, you know, like a best of 7 for the grand final, a forced 7, like all 7 games play the show match and stuff. And even the day before that had some pretty hype games as well. Escozi versus Zerg, Escozi versus Protoss. So we got to see some pretty cool matchups with that 4th race. They can definitely coexist, perhaps, in the context of a neat option there, I think. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool to see the opportunity for just having a cool, like, neat things go on in a 4th race in a game with 4 races. Like, it's kind of wacky, it's kind of wild. But it's neat, it's awesome, it's epic. I just have a lot of superlatives to say about it. A bunch of artisans are now spotted by Kenoli. He's making some Tetzora cores. We saw his swamp earlier. Bactyl count pretty low, but he can at least come down here and shut down the artisans. I don't actually think they can really escape here, and Shambler, he was watching this position. He will end up escaping with maybe about half of them. A little more than that, but he is waypointing more to their, I'm sure, doom. And Kenoli's happy to just kind of snipe that Witness. Shambler, no, your artisans rallied. I did like that they auto-aggroed. Also interesting, of course, Slav playing to the condition of the game. He's got his treasury up here on the high ground, another treasury over here to have workers rallied to it, another ministry as well, and we're getting quarry tech, so we will be seeing the Talos come out almost assuredly. Madcaps have been made. I'm not so sure. Oh, this must be like an anti-drop, anti-flyer squad of Cyprian and Maverick. Mostly it's been Madcap. It's been kind of all Madcap. I wonder if he's just banking his gas, not opting for any biotic units or anything for some other particular reason as we start some starports here. Malefactor Pariah from the Mind Tyrant. A couple artisans channeling some gas. We're going to see him fly over not just for these gases, but also for top left, and that's obviously not going to be something Slav allows. It looks like Kenoli is setting up to kill the Shambler. If he dares, if he can. It does look to me like these engrams up here on the high ground are going to be a little bit too much, though. Not a lot of saturation on the third base. I guess, shockingly enough, Kenoli is the lowest eco in the lobby right now. I'm tempted to say in the server because of Counter-Strike. That's what I typically say, but Discord server, Fluxor server, those are our community hubs. So if I say lowest in the server, people will think I'm talking about the community or whatever, and that's not really correct. Avaleth's great map coverage here for Kenoli. By the way, these neutral grandstands in the middle you can garrison with certain units, and so that's what Kenoli has done. So he's got that mid-control. We also were seeing like little bubbles every now and then. Those are piety wards placed neutrally, so they're kind of like the ability to stand over them and benefit as if you were standing under an ant seal. It's a pretty neat option. Can't even make reservoirs too. Weird. Yeah, he did something awful to your gas notes. I'm sorry, Slav. You didn't deserve that spot. Do we actually have... Okay, we do have the seated here. So... Yeah, so ridge caps do exist for Shambler at the very least. Okay, he can't do it in the main on that. There you go. Mystery solved. Shambler getting some information about his map. Iral Iris is coming up here for Kenoli. In the FFA, you don't want to leave the Zerg alone in particular, but well, all three of our players have allowed me to pontificate about the future of Cosmonarchy and tell you guys a little bit of a recap about our epic tournament and introduce you to how awesome the game is. And so now we're about to see it, surely. We've built up over the course of about a dozen minutes. Now we get to see some action here. That glowing Pariah here, going to be able to mind control certain targets, but it immediately ends up getting its army, its shields and such deployed, right? It was actually a little bit away from the Mind Tyrant as well, so there's a leash on the effect. The link will stay, but your benefits from being linked are dependent on range. The Witness does garrison over the army, so at the very least Shambler knows. Hell of a 1v1, he says. I don't know if you would really count it as a 1v1. I know, like, the Artisan harassment happened, but... and the I0 drop as well, right? But, like, Shambler's kind of just been sitting back doing not much, so... trying to scale up his eco. He's got the second most workers in the lobby, but he does have a lot of bases if you count the Artisans, right? These remote workers harvesting remotely, giving the money over. It would be very trivial for, as Kenoli did with the Hydras, Slav to just move down here and clear this out with anything. He's got starports, he can make air units, and it looks like he's going to be making Seraph Azazel with his commandment. So when I was speculating if he would be going for the Daedala, the tier 3 tech node, if that's why he was banking so much Vespene, but obviously he can't really bank that much Vespene since he can't cap most of his gas nodes, so he's been handicapped a little bit here by the map. And now we have those gas nodes being capped here in Kenoli's base. He could always make the Escagant, the ridge cap here, but the gas cap requires this structure here for tier 2, so it's a little different of a story. Protoss can always make the Aquifer, which is their assimilator equivalent, increases the gas yield by 2 whenever you cap anything like that. And Azazel flies over and sees that indeed there are artisans in all these bases, so he can go ahead and try to harass that at any point. Got a decent amount of pariahs here. The front line kind of all in sorts, right? There's like 5 pariahs in this army. Maybe a little bit more. And a demiurge as well for anti-melee. The Storm comes out, but it's blanketing a lot of very tanky units, and the Mind Tyrant feels like an easy focus if Kenoli wants it. Problem is, he doesn't have anything protecting the southern flank. Well, I say that, one Tetzoricor is there, but it looks like this front line is starting to collapse. There's really no source of armor shred in this composition for the Zerg, and as it turns out, the Heralds combining with the Pariahs attack a lot faster than you think. The Heralds, of course, giving some shield sustain over to the Zerg. This base freshly taken at 6 o'clock, or whatever, inner 6, is going to get squashed immediately, and now it's up to Slav to save Kenoli, because I don't think he's going to be able to save himself. That being said, he is retreating to some upgraded Scorchriths and a Khaz'trith to add more targeting. Anything with the yellow overlay will be able to attack multiple targets, even if it normally is a single target unit. And for all of his efforts, including with the Malefactor and the Demiurge, he's only mind-controlled one unit, and it's a Hydra. Can't even turn it into a Bactylus, because he doesn't have a Ski-Bact. No. Empress has arrived as well. This one takes short-lived control over enemy units when they take damage from the Empress and then die afterwards. The short-lived effect as well. Kenoli has 7,000 minerals. Kenoli, my guy. Don't worry, this is... I have it on good authority that the replay works, so this is just Kenoli having a Kenoli moment. He did make a bunch of Protathalors. He's selecting his larva. He goes for mutas. Okay. Now, we do have some bio units temporarily being convinced to serve a new master. The Protathalors are by the Khaz'trith, but it looks like his Bactyls are still garrisoned at that third base. As good as Khaz'trith Protathalors are, they're not good enough to deal with this, so this does feel like it's going to be a pretty easy step on. Right, Kenoli's mutas will hatch, but he's got to go fly across the map with them and harass. He can't take a direct fight. The Demiurge controls some of the Protathalors for the Protoss as well. Oh, these mutas going up in smoke. The Demiurge wasn't able to take command of them, unfortunately. Do we have any surviving mutas is the question. These Demiurge is trying to range down the static defense. Okay, we do have some Tazgralisks in the making. He's desperately hoping for some sort of intervention from Slav, but he's not typing. You gotta use your typing here, I feel like. Now, we do have Tier 3 has been achieved for the Terran player. Nanite assemblies being made inside the main base, so let's keep tabs on our Terran. He could still build up to a pretty big force and endanger Shambler as a result. It looks like the army is going to be routed here. I think the Spire must have already died. It was probably in the natural, unless, yeah, it's not in the third base. So he does not have it. He did not rebuild it despite his money. And now he doesn't really have an easy way of getting much of anything done. He will evacuate some of his workers with his Ovoleths, and he will be flying across the map with the intention of doing dastardly damage to these artisans. Problem is, the Demiurges are here to accept these mutas as gifts to the Protoss. The Tazgralisks are in a count of 7. They can definitely do damage to the artisans and shut down the economy a little bit. At the very least, Kenoli can get some revenge as Slav continuing to build up his army in an entirely unopposed state. Yeah, some mind-controlled Harakans come up or whatever, but they're just going to be dealt with almost immediately. They take that extra damage. Oh! Oh, Shambler's going for the hatch. He's taken a worker with his Demiurge, and he will be dominating some Zerg as a result. That's cool and all, but it's pretty ugly to see all those workers go down to the bottom right. I guess Kenoli's allowed to cockroach from this position, as Shambler hasn't really considered it as an option. Some of these Ovoleths even have workers still in them. Pariah's cut down another Hurakan. A lot of them have been sent on recon missions. It's kind of shocking to me that Slav has just not bothered to attack this 9 o'clock position to try to control the Protoss at all. And also, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine all of these Terran units failing in the upcoming fight. I feel like this is looking like a pretty dastardly attack here from Slav. I mean, I guess defense, because he's being pretty inactive, but at any point, right, that feels like it's going to be a pretty big move. Now, we do have the Tazgralisks and the mutas flocking in to destroy the harvesting inside the main base, including some static defenses. If they can shut down the advanced gases as well, that would be good. Looks like they will take care of the Aquifer, but we've got the big fight happening on the other side of the map as Shambler seeks to engage against Slav's forces. The Minotaur, the Seraph casting Irradiate right on top of the Mind Tyrant. It's a beautiful sight to behold, but still, nonetheless, the bio is going to be the heavy hitter as the Minotaur is felled. Another Seraph Irradiate gets cast. Looks like another one cast in the wrong location. He flies his whole army into it. That's not how you want to handle this, Slav. Your air fleet, your support craft, they need to cast their abilities. Shaman here trying to patch up the wounded. The bio continuing to push this force back and see what it can do. And look, again, I talked about the number of military units Slav has. What casualties did he realistically take? That Irradiate, gonna be pretty good for reducing how powerful those Empresses are, you know, keeping to reduce their HP, but the Demiurge stack needs to be engaged upon here, it feels like. Well, still, the Azazels will help defend those units. No more Protoss casualties just yet. The one Zerg unit that's taken is pretty amusing as well. And more Minotaurs and Magnetar also in production. I love the D-Matrix on the Minotaurs, but they need to get into the fight. They need to actually engage. And Shambler needs to pull back as 2 of his Demiurges are felled. Once again, the Tozgralisk's harassing his base. They'll get right on top of those Wardens and try to focus them down. Looks like a couple of them will be shot, unfortunately for Kenoli, because he's not working with much here. And Shambler wraps the Empresses around to try to see what harassment he can do off to this side. Of course, the Minotaurs are lumbering, but they can go ahead and deal with that. My curiosity is Shambler was also just setting a bunch of efforts onto these Droleths here in the hatches in the bottom right, but he's going to have to take care of business here. No, don't. Oh, Slav. You have air units. You've been making air units. Just use those instead. He doesn't know about that, though. Kenoli's last base is sighted. I mean, surely Shambler should have known about it. His Demiurges were attacking it anyway. Oh, no. Oh, the workers died. Fleet of 8 Empresses dispatched to try to deal with Kenoli once and for all. Do we have any anti-air defenses over here? I guess we have the back doors. They are on a move command, by the way. Okay, they figured it out. Maybe they didn't figure it out. I don't know what they're doing exactly. Lakers are going to burrow, but there's not much they can do against the air. Some Protathlors survived. The Tozgralisk is trying to give chase. More Lakers spawning. He is making a single spray. It does feel like this is going to be a hard one to get rid of. And will Slav ever break his own turtle shell and start attacking? That's another question we have to ask, because even though Shambler lost everything in his main base, he is slowly reestablishing control with the Zerg Natural, as well as, of course, pressing, making it so that Kenoli can't distract him anymore, you know? The army fight went about as I expected, even though Slav's control left something to be desired. And as we take a quick look over his whole base, he has the Magnetars here. He has pulled those Empresses in for death. Synthetic Synod's making more of them. And a decent number of melee units for sure, but those are going to get easily mulched in a head-on army fight. Best thing that those could probably do is either be used to stave off incoming death, or perhaps the other angle that they could take is, you know, run-bys, right? Try to attack this base over here, overwhelm this madcap force, contain the economic growth of his opponent. Yeah, this is looking pretty dire right now. I don't think Kenoli will be saved. The Empresses will take over. Do we have any tech being developed right now for the Zerg? It doesn't look like it. Shambler can't afford an Iral Iris. Remaking at 6 o'clock. The Artisans are in vision of that. Droleths are going to burrow. Maybe he can get some sprites up, but the Empress count is still too damn high. And again, Slav is being very conservative right now with his movement. Very podcast right now for his movement. I can tell you already, this does look to me like... I see why this game was submitted. A, it's a working FFA replay that apparently goes somewhat long. B, Shambler knew I would need the podcast after Acropolis. No, it's probably because Shambler's dub posting, but this is, you know, we call it dub posting, right? It's like it's short for like, oh, you posted your dubs, your Ws, your wins. It usually is used to refer to a case where the player who posted a win. It wasn't a very good win. It wasn't particularly entertaining, but it was a win, and that's why they posted it. And that is entirely possible in this situation. So, you know, just saying. Kenoli will be Illuminatus, except for this hatch on the top right, but Harakans. Ahmed, you can stop this. You can stop this right now. Kenoli has so much money, dude. Holy shit. He's got more minerals than anybody else. He's got more minerals than the other players combined. He's also got a bunch of burrowed Droleth in the midst of it all, as well as these Lakers, so... it might be a little bit of a challenge here. All right, Slav is starting to be moving. And I guess so too is Shambler, but these death ball fights I feel like are never actually what you want, particularly against the Magnetars with Yamato, and the Seraphs with the Radiate to a lesser degree, splash damage from the Centaurs, and the Bioforce in general. This doesn't look like something that Shambler can just walk into. The Magnetars are going to make a huge difference here. Forget about the Yamato for a second. They're going to pull those Empresses into the fight. The Centaurs and the Minotaurs are also doing their damnedest to just burst down those Empresses, and you can see that pull for the moment. Yeah, the Bio shredding the front line. The Seraph Observance, that red overlay, means they're reducing armor at the same time. So there's a lot here in this composition that is making it pretty unlikely for a Shambler victory here, but maybe we'll still wait and see. Empress is zombifying some of these madcaps. A few of them do go down, and it looks like Kenoli is sitting here with his Lakis. Slav is like, what are you doing over here, dude? That's a good question. He's trying to defend his hatch in the middle. King of the Congo, but I don't think it's going to work out very well for him. Some reinforcements coming in, including the Centaurs, should be able to wipe the Empresses well enough. Yeah, immediately picking off a few of them. Treasury does get turned. The last of the grandstands in the middle of the map are going to be taken care of. Hey, let me get, if you guys made it this far into the cast, tell me what you think. Should there be some kind of mechanism for de-garrisoning neutral structures? Oh, a wellbore. We don't get to see that very often. Amaranth's run by is real. It is happening. But yeah, de-garrisoning a neutral structure instead of it just blowing up. I wonder what people think about that. Basically, should there be a little bit more permanence, or, you know, should it not count as death for the structure unless it's empty when it takes that damage? That's a possibility. That's a thought process that I have. I like that Slav is not really ignoring this, but he's sending his reinforcements after it while sending his air fleet and bio ball down to the bottom left. We don't have a great amount of spells being used right now, but the Azazels do at least fly in forward. Now some D-Matrix is coming online as the engram is going to be left destitute. Unfortunately, some Seraphs are gifted to the enemy. That's not really what you want, but they'll be destroyed in short order, I'm sure. And again, I don't really see a mechanism by which Shambler can escape from this. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe he isn't dove posting. Hurricanes are tearing down the last hatch in the northern part of the map. We still have a rebase down here in the bottom right. Kenoli doing everything he can to cockroach back into some element of relevance with all of his money in the bank. And it does look to me like the Magnetars and the Centaurs are going to combine to break the Protoss menace, this profane abomination that Shambler has attempted to make. That's not too shabby, I suppose. The Crucible will go down, depowering one synthetic Synod, the other one barely getting a power field from that pylon. So most of the flow of high-tier units will be destroyed. That being said, Shambler... WTF, he says. That's a good question. Shambler should be able to build some tech from the Zerg. He just hasn't. Why are these your live? I don't see what he's talking about. They all look like... Oh, it says Kenoli, but it's the wrong color. Wait, what? Really? Oh yeah, I guess that's really funny. I'll have to look into that particular bug. I think I remember somebody reporting that too, but at the very least we got something out of it in terms of a very obscure allegiance switching bug. So that's cool. Fancy, says Kenoli. Fancy like the way that he's being destroyed by Terrans, says Shambler. Well, I think we know who's going to win this. Shout out to Slav. Your first cast on the channel is going to be a victory. Nexus in the 9 o'clock position will surely get paved over. Shambler told me that you see things in this cast that you don't see in every FFA. You don't see all the time, and so I think that's pretty neat. Yeah, Kenoli is taking over the Rills. He's taking over the larva. Yeah, they're all Kenoli larvae, are they? Are all of them? Not all of them, right? Because some of them are... Yeah, we have a couple Gambler larvas here. What the fuck? Well, that's pretty funny. Oh, they can try to defend themselves with brood spawn. I don't think it's going to matter. Straight into tier 3 for Shambler. Trying to get whatever he can get done with his... He's now basically a Zerg player. He does have one scribe that we are aware of. But he is basically a Zerg player right now. Couple Empresses left alive. Airfleet can go after them. Slav doing the victory lap. He's repairing a Centaur. I feel like I never say that. Like, Centaurs are kind of rare anyway, right? But, like, when do you see them and then also see them get repaired? It's a little thing, but it's kind of cool. Kenoli's tier 2 is done. Maybe he can set up some static defenses in time. The hatch is dead. I'm not sure about the Empresses. Did they end up escaping? No, they did not. And, oh no, the Artisans caved in by the Cyprian Madcap hit squad at 30 minutes into the game. There's one Cyprian over here as well, but I don't think that the Artisans are going to make the mistake of going that direction. How many of these are going to be air defenses? How many of them are going to be ground defenses? It looks like mostly Spraith and Spear Tith. The Kazi is done. Are we going to get any anti-surface defenses? Remember, the Bio Ball is still there. One Demiurge left for Shambler. He's lost it. He's forgotten it. Oh, it gets destroyed. So sad. is just hiding the hatch right now. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to accomplish. But hey, like I said, sometimes you need to podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed Acropolis. I hope to some degree you guys enjoyed this cast. It was a pretty interesting set of mechanics and a funny storyline, but the most compelling parts of the game were probably when those big fights were happening and we got some screenshot fodder. Other than that, though, this could have been experienced as a screenshot, let's be real. Still, we got to see some Terran dominance in action, and we don't get to see Terrans very often. Maybe it's cool, just so that people know, hey, what's going on here in this game? Oh my god, you can build 50 units per race? Yeah, you can. And they're pretty cool units, too. Still some more to be done, of course. Looks like the Matraval Nest turning into the Almeka Xanter, but I don't think it's going to end up finishing, unfortunately, for Shambler. His last hope goes down. Hey, says Shambler. That wasn't done. Cheater. I don't know about that, but I do appreciate that he sent me his copy of the replay, which ends before Kenoli even surrenders, so we didn't get to see whatever Slav did at Kenoli after. I guess it was it was just too grisly. We can't be watching Zerg get exterminated like that right after the events of Acropolis number 4 were concluded. It just wouldn't be good manners. So, with that in our back pocket, a nice FFA that lasted about a half an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will be back with more Cosmonarchy, probably a shorter game tomorrow. Subscribe if you're not already. Leave me comments as per your preference for matches cast and all of that stuff. General mechanic questions I had about like the neutral garrisons and stuff too. Let me know. GG.